Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Take TV podcast. Today we'll be covering round 18 and then some talking points heading into round 19. So 5 weeks to go. It's the final stretch. There's not a lot to talk about, but we will find some topics, and there are some injuries and topical players to talk about. So we'll quickly touch on a couple of things, couple of fun things. The Shield and Lipinski debate and bet at the start of the year. We'll touch on that. The leagues, we've got a few leagues sort of making a charge late. We'll have a quick look at where they sit. Some injuries and concerns for a couple of players. We'll just take a look at the most traded in and traded out players, a couple of those, to sort of gauge some talking points and see what we think of them. Rookies, as always, if people are looking for them, and then we'll just do some quick question and answer in the Discord, which we'll probably be doing a bit of, I would say, towards the end of the year. So if you want to get involved, be sure to join the Discord and we'll answer some questions. But first of all, we'll get to George. How are you, mate? How'd you go? And what'd you get up to on the weekend as well?
Good, Enno. I shaved the beard, left the goatee on. I was watching Eastbound and Down. I don't know if you've seen that show, but it's pretty funny. Big old Kenny Powers swearing his head off. And anyway, otherwise weekend was good. Supercoach team was okay. Scored 2,424. Stuck at rank 1.8k. Kind of want to go down to zero trades, but we'll speak about that later in the video. It was like not even on the radar last week, and I've just like started to panic because I'm not going to hit top 1k. So I don't know. Maybe you guys can help me out later on. We'll see how we go.
Yeah, well, I think JD said it last week. We tried to help you out in round 2 or 3. It didn't work, so we'll see if we can do this.
Yeah, it happens every year though. That's the thing. It's like I think I've never had trades in the last 3 rounds ever. I'm pretty sure. Maybe once I had it in the last 2 rounds, but yeah, never have it. Last year, I think last 4 rounds had none left, and I got by just with a few rookies in the last round. So see how we go. But JD, how did you go?
I went pretty well, thanks, George. So a 24.95, which moves me up again. I'm sitting around 5k now, so still moving up about a k a week. So hopefully we can keep that momentum up, which is very good. And yes, logging on tonight and seeing your beautiful face, George, it made me finally realize what I would like the outcome of the Rao, Shield, Lipinski bet to be. And that will be if Rao wins, you get rid of whatever's sitting on your face at the moment, maybe using some beautiful Manscaped products. It is a very tight race now. McGrath's in the lead. And for those that don't remember, I bet at the start of the year that Rao would beat out Shield is what George agreed to, but we later included Lipinski as well.
You had a couple of bets.
It is very tight at the moment, especially after a poor game from Rao on the weekend. Lipinski and Shield getting right back up there. So what's that? Within 8 points of Lipinski and Rao, and Shield's not too far behind on average, but he has played 1 less game. So, yep, that's heating up. But yeah, I'm definitely asking for that goatee to go if Rao gets up.
All right. Well, if Rao doesn't get up, the ponytail goes.
Oh, geez, that's a not a fair trade.
That's a lot bigger.
We'll have to talk about that offline. Enno, how'd you go, mate? How was your weekend? And let us know what you got up to.
Yeah. Supercoach, I think me and you, JD, have been just going along pretty nicely the last 2 or 3 weeks. So we're making a bit of a charge, so to speak. George is just hanging on. He reckons we'll eventually get him. But so 25, 26. So I think the last 3 weeks I've gone up 1k every week. So 3.3k now. Always top 1,000s a goal. Probably fall short because it's still quite a bit of a jump still. I think it's like 400 or 500 points, which I guess you can make up in 5 weeks. But everything's got to go your way. So that's how the Supercoach went. And then yesterday for my weekend, I've mentioned it on a video, last week's video and actually tonight. So I just posted. But my good mate Harry, who I went to school with and good mates with, been probably 10 years. His old man Paul passed away. Paul Deere, who played for Hawthorn, actually won a Norm Smith medal, if you weren't aware. And he passed away last week to pancreatic cancer. And they had a lunch for Hawthorn on the weekend. It was like their biggest lunch in 5 years. And they sort of added on the support for the Dare to Hope Foundation, which Cherie, his wife, and Paul started a couple of years ago, or maybe a year ago or so. And yeah, it was just good fun, fundraising for that. Spent a lot of time with family and friends. Saw a lot of people who used to play footy with down at Bowie there, and it was just a good day, sort of celebrating his life and getting the sort of word out there, because it's like the second deadliest cancer in Australia now, which is pretty scary. Like most people only get a couple of months, or 3 or 4 months, I think, and Paul got 21. So it's kind of the basis of the foundation, the Dare to Hope. They want to make people's chances or lives better when they get that terrible news. So that was good yesterday to do that and show support for that. So I'll put the link below to that and get donating. But back to Supercoach.
George, actually, before we go on, there's one other milestone we're celebrating, which is Enno is on the cusp of 1,000 subscribers, which is a YouTube milestone. And for those that are listening that play a little bit of the FPL, that is probably Enno's bread and butter after a top 50 global finish last year. So, sign up, get on board for that, have some content over the off season. But yeah, it's a big milestone. So congrats. To do it in a year is very impressive.
Oh, I mean, obviously, we all help each other. George is the starter of that. But I mean, for the only reason I started doing it was for fun. I didn't think I'd ever start making my own videos when, I don't know, all those years ago, I messaged George you want to start a podcast, mate, on Big Footy?
Didn't reply for 3 weeks.
Yeah, just burnt me, and then
that sounds like very on brand for George. If you're a sponsor trying to get on the show for next year, I'd start contacting him now. You might get a reply in December.
But yeah, it's just I do it for fun, really. Like, it's just a hobby, of course, and I'll definitely do some FPL stuff, and you might have to start the fantasy, JD, mate, the way you're going as well. So
he's already converted.
I don't know about that.
But yeah, the first thing we're going to quickly touch on, George, was wanted to look at a couple of the leagues we've got that were sort of making the charge. We didn't have the best start to the year as sort of a community, but it is sort of coming home strong. And I think our best league there is the one in 7th. We call it the Sweats League, but that's made a bit of a charge. So
I think we have about 8 leagues in the top 100. So we haven't really mentioned leagues this year because we haven't really been in the rankings till the last few weeks. But making a bit of a charge after a slow start. So lots of learnings out of this year. So the Sweats League, basically I just picked out the best players and a few people on Twitter that I know that are good players. I think Pete's safety, he's really good. I think he's top 3 Hall of Fame. So he's in that. Tommy, he's on Marrow's Magic. So I listen to that every week. So he's not having his best year, but he's probably the best player ever in Supercoach historically. And then a few others. I think Zach Rocket from Twitter, like lots of good players are in there. Yeah. So I think Tom is coming home well, I think, but yeah, still everyone in that league is like high ranked historically. Yep. So see how we go, and hopefully we can finish 1st or 2nd. So see how we go.
Yeah, well, we got a couple of regs doing well. We should probably shout out Polly. He's had a great couple of last years. He's in another top 1. I think is he like 400th now? He's just been consistent the last 2 or 3 years.
I think he said he was 700th, but let me have a check.
Because he was top 20 last year, so he's doing well. Yep. He's our best player in the cord, I think.
Yep.
Oh, yes. He's got an interesting team name, which we won't repeat.
No.
He's 759 at the moment.
Yeah, okay. And we could take a quick look at the 12-team leagues. And this is we only do this for a bit of fun in our Discord with some regulars where we sort of draft teams and see who can do the best at the end of the year. And JD's team's pretty much been first for most of the year. I've caught up a bit. My team wasn't going too great. My 11 teammates, but we have to scroll down a bit to find George's team. It's sitting down there at 14th, which
14th, okay.
is look, I don't think many people do 12-team leagues. So
well, basically this league, we draft players from our regulars group that are most active, most are like 2019 people that have been back since then. And of course, I don't know who's good and who's not. So I drafted the wrong people again. I think I've lost every year. So a bit of fun though. The league is fun, just a bit of trash talking when we do the draft. So, but yeah.
Cool. Next thing on the agenda is just a couple of injuries and actually a couple of players we might just be concerned about having an injury. Not that we have any sort of concrete information, but The first one's pretty straightforward. Jelly, Josh Kelly. He actually went off early with a back injury, right? George got collected by Beast
The
Mode.
barometer. Yeah.
Who actually
He
played pretty well.
flattened him. He flattened him. And it was a fair tackle too. It was a good tackle. And then I think the physio was like working his back, kind of like lower back into glute area. So clearly jammed him up a bit and then moved him forward a bit after that one. And had lower CBAs than what you'd normally see.
Yeah. Yep, and then copped a concussion apparently right in the last few minutes. So
right on the scone, he copped
which
it.
is just
He's in protocol. So I think the question is, what do you do with Jelly? Well, I think first of all they dropped his CBAs. I don't know if that was because of his back, but Hopper was back as well. Who I worry about him next year, but he's averaging 50 something over 2 games, so he could be a pick next year. And I think Hopper and Taranto both out of contract. I think.
Yes.
And GWS have money struggles. So you would think they'd put them in the mids to up their value.
The shopping boat, I think it's guaranteed to say one of them would definitely go. Maybe not both. It just depends who goes. But
like Bruin's the other one.
Yeah.
So I think he's a hold because it sounds like a 1 weeker, but we see players coming back from concussion. Like English has just not looked the same. It's happened in the past. I reckon Lloyd a few years ago had a concussion and he wasn't the same for a few weeks. So it can happen, but you think he has a week off, he bounces back. I think, I guess you just got to hold. He's been okay, but a bit unlucky this week. So if you have the traits to move him on to someone better, sure. But 1 week injury, you treat it as that, and it's probably a hold.
Yep.
But it depends on your situation.
I mean, we just spoke about Polly before. He's got him. He's had him for quite a while, I think, like a good couple of months. He's been decent for him. But because he's 700th, I'm pretty sure he's going to trade. He just wants to try and keep pushing up, which makes sense, I guess. He has enough trades, I think, to do it. So I guess, just assess where you're at. If you want to play a bit safer, like you've got 2 or less trades and there might be other longer term injuries coming. Maybe you hold on to him and use some cover for a week. But I think like someone in Polly's position, he just wants to keep pushing up the ranks. He's got trades and it's just going to move him on. But I think the issue is who can you really go to? He dropped a bit of cash. So I think he can really go down. I think he might be going Chad Warner from what he's saying.
He was talking about McCluggage, Keys, or Warner, I think, were the 3 that got floated.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go Keys because his CBA's dropped 20%. And actually during the week, he said that they were going to give the kids a bit more mid-time. I think he said him and Laird and Keys CBAs were going to drop. Laird CBAs went up and Keys went down. So it was just like a throwaway. It's not throwaway, but it was on radio in Adelaide. So it wasn't that much.
And they're doing it with Phil Thorpe and Rob, aren't they? So as well.
On the flip side, Chuck Warner led the Swans with 77% CBAs, which was equal highest for him for the year.
Yep. And if you saw that Horse and Chad hug at the end of the game in the rooms, I don't think that's going to be changing. Did you guys not see that? He gave him a massive hug. And had the biggest grin on his face, Horse, and you don't see that from him often. So I think he loves him.
He has been very, very, very good, and actually one that I think people will be looking at the start of next year, even though he'll already have a 100 average price tag.
Yeah, it is definitely interesting. There's not too many more. We're going to talk about a couple that I might slide right to the end, and then we'll get into Rowan there. But Hobbs, what happened there, JD? I didn't catch this game. Did he just get a shoulder knock or something?
Yeah, that's right. He got cleaned up with a hip and shoulder, played out the game and played pretty well, actually, but one to keep an eye on just because they were already mentioning resting him and stuff a few weeks ago. So this could be the excuse you're looking for to actually rest him up if something's happened to the shoulder. So just keep an eye on him for those that are using Hobbs as cover.
Yep. And then we've put down a couple. These are more the concerns. So Tim English and Max Gawn. Tim English just hasn't sort of been himself. Even sort of before the concussion, he wasn't. But then after that, he's sort of come back and just isn't doing the same things he was most of the year, running into space, getting a lot of possessions. I guess, of course, Sweet played on the weekend, which didn't help because he's not really a forward. And Tim did spend some time forward. But regardless of that, he just hasn't looked the same. I'm sure you guys share the similar opinion. But a lot of knee strapping, which you've noticed quite a lot. Is that something you probably worry about? But there's not much we can do really. We've got him in now. It's just can't believe I'm saying it, but just should have kept Heaney at the time. But you can't really pick these things.
Yeah.
Like Heaney's pumping out tons for JD as weird of a timeline that is. But
this is very strange.
Yeah, what have you seen, Jaws, with English?
Oh, just no around the ground game. So he had like 50 odd points, 35 were from hit to advantage. So he's nothing around the ground, 0. Just hope he comes good. He scored 95 the week he came back, but even then he didn't look great. So, and he could get no hit advantage on Ryder as well. So, just see how he goes. I didn't even notice him. I reckon he started pretty well the first 10 minutes, and then it was just invisible around the ground. So,
the one thing I will say, there was about 3 or 4 opportunities for Bulldogs to hit him in the open with, kicks into the center of the field or whatever, and they butchered a lot of them. Like there was 1 or 2 that he was open, went out the full. So look, it's not the difference between like a 50 and a 100 or anything. No. But there was definitely a lot of points left on the table, I felt, from teammate mistakes. And we also know that the Saints ruck duo of Marshall and Ryder is one of the tougher matchups for points across the league. So I think you can kind of forgive him a little bit for both those things. But you're right, he looked a long way off the English we saw at the start of the year that was going to be F1.
Yep. And the other one, I guess, is Max Gawn, which, again, I didn't catch the game, so I have to lean on you guys for this one. But I guess I go to you, JD, because you sort of hit home bringing him in fantasy with that Lysette matchup. No Lysette, and then having Finlayson as an opponent, and he just didn't really take advantage of it. Did Jackson spend more time in the ruck as a whole, do you think? I actually haven't looked at the numbers, but
Jackson did do a bit of rucking, but it was like a 70-30 split still Gawn's favor.
Oh, really?
He just didn't look right, and he didn't. So it was like against Dixon a lot. And if you look at the hit out numbers, Gawn only had 18, Dixon had 11. So there was definitely low stoppages for this game, and Jackson, I think, got more around the ground stoppages than the 70-30 split reflects. He just didn't look right. It was a bit similar to English. You could just tell that he wasn't at 100%.
Yeah.
So just a little bit of a concern. Hopefully he bounces back. And he did get, I think, a fair few cheap touches in the fourth quarter. But, no tackles next to his name isn't something you see all the time. He just looked like maybe that ankle is still lingering a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, they probably brought him back too early from that, didn't they, George, to sort of a bit of desperation at that Cats game. But
maybe, yeah.
Maybe.
I think he probably, if you asked Gawn, he probably would have played the week after.
He's probably one of those guys. Yeah.
Oh, he'll come good, I think. See how he goes.
And then, the last one we'll talk about, because we're probably going to switch into talking about trade-in options, but Paddy Ryder. So we're waiting for that news and came out today, 4 to 6 weeks with the calf. So there's 5 weeks left. It falls right in between that. And I said on my video just before, I don't imagine if it's a 4-week injury, and I probably expect Saints to not be in finals contention, that he would even bother coming back for the last round of the year, off a calf, if they're probably aiming for him to play next year. You're just not a risk you want to take in round 23, I think. They'd have to be in contention for finals for him to bother playing. So,
or he's planning to retire.
Or that. Yeah, good point. Good point. If he's planning to retire and play sort of a farewell and they're out of finals contention, then that's a good point. So,
well, I think there's about 5 teams still in the running for 8th spot, because
they technically are.
North.
Yeah,
including
choking it away.
Mighty
including the Bombers.
Yeah.
Hang on, you guys are actually a chance. I think you guys can win the next 5.
I think mathematically we still can, but I'm pretty sure all the other teams have to lose a lot of games. So
that's the thing. Yeah, you got to hope for all of them to flop, Dogs to flop. Yeah. I mean, Gold Coast you just beat. But
so we could get to 44 points with 5 wins, so that'd get us to 11 wins. But all the teams that are 8th and 9th, they're 9 or 8 wins, so they'd have to all lose 2 of the next 3, which you just. And we're behind on percentage.
Yeah, got to be ahead of the game.
Teams too. Yeah, it's just not going to happen. It's a meme. It's a meme.
Yeah, I guess Saints are still a chance, but they really have looked poor the last couple of weeks. So anyway, point is, I think Ryder pretty much out for the season. Not definitively say, but have a fair guess, which means Ronald Marshall, who A lot of us remember 2019. I luckily jumped on him early that year for like mid 400s, and he was pumping out like 120s for 2 months. I think he sort of tailed off at the back end of that year, but he's shown, in the solo ruck role, he can score well. I have the option of getting him this week, but I think I'm going elsewhere, and I just think it's because I still do worry. He has had some injury concerns himself this year, hasn't he? So
Yeah.
it hasn't been the best sort of 18 months for him. He's had a few problems. He's sort of pushing through them, I'd say, but he is still a good option, I think. If you can only sort of go downwards, he's probably the best of the cheap options.
All going well, he should score because his scores are 124, 67, and that was 67. The next few rounds, he was awful. He looked injured, I think. There was some concern, like at training, I can't remember.
This is the start of the year, right?
Yeah, so then he had another two. So I'll read them all out. 124, 67, 125. I think there's a 92 in there. And then the one a few weeks ago against the Swans was a 156. So you can clearly
with
score.
No rider.
So those are with no rider. So only one bad score in round 2 when he looked pretty shell of himself. So 460k, I think he's a good buy. I think going to like 0 trades or even 1 trade with him, a bit worried about his durability this year. Interrupted preseason, had a few interruptions earlier in the year. Just had that really down patch. But solo rucking, I think he's probably a top 2 ruck with Goldstein somehow, just the way things have worked out. Or Darcy's been pretty solid as well. Not the heights of last year, but like still very good, like at least top 3. So I think he's fine. I think he's a good play. He's got a good upside and only 5 weeks to go. And like the Saints, I know you say like they're probably not expected to make finals, but there's still a chance. Yeah. They've kind of blown what they could have done. But I think he'll need to play out of his skin like the rest of the Saints. I think he'll be a good pick.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything to add, JD? Should we move on to the next man?
Let's keep moving.
So Dylan Moore is the man I'm going for, or the pick I'm going for instead, who I can just afford. And I think it's pretty clear and obvious why. The last 2 weeks, he's been thrust into the middle. I believe he was drafted as a midfielder, right, George? And then sort of just couldn't get a game or wasn't playing too well, I think, 2020. And then, reports were he was getting delisted, and then turned his sort of career around as a forward. Honestly dominating. The stuff he was doing last year as a forward was unreal, and then sort of kicked on a bit with that this year. But he's been pushing up the ground a lot lately, and then in the last 2 weeks he's been a centre bounce midfielder. So ahead of Titch the last 2 weeks, ahead of like Connor Nash, who was getting a few. It sort of coincided with Warple going out, so it's Newcomb and O'Meara as the main two, and Dylan Moore's the third. Is what that sort of data shows the last 2 weeks. And he looks good there. Like, I will be slightly concerned going with him for 5 weeks that, Sammy Mitchell has shown he likes to throw things around, try plays in different spots. And with Hawks obviously not making finals, you're probably something that he will be doing the last 5 rounds. So, maybe he does go back forward and he gives someone else a go in there, like maybe Josh Ward, who's just come back in and played a good game. So it is a bit concerning that might happen, but I have seen enough for me to think that he hopefully persists with that, just to see what he's got in there, because he might be an option for the future. He's sort of shown that he doesn't really want to play Tom Mitchell in there anymore. He knows he's not the future. So I think he wants to give all that sort of time to him. What have you guys seen?
I'll just say, 60% CBA's last 2 weeks. I guess, there's a couple of thoughts here. One, if you're trading him in, I'd try and find every Sam Mitchell presser you can find this week. He's actually been one of the sharper shooters when it comes to press this year. Seems to tell the truth for the most part, be pretty open and honest. So if he's getting questions around Dylan Moore, expect probably a trustworthy answer, I would say. And then, secondly, I'd say we're already seeing him make his moves. So if he says he likes this, I wouldn't see any reason why this is going to change the back half of the year. I also think the downside on this pick isn't too bad, because even in his old role, yes, his scores are a bit spiky and inconsistent, but he's still averaging something like a 90, right?
92 or something, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not exactly like the downside of this pick is terrible. I like it at the price for the upside that it presents.
And I guess, George, I didn't mention, but the fixture is actually pretty good. Like North this week, They've got a couple of Tassie games. I think one's against Gold Coast. And then I think Dogs is their hardest matchup. Last game of the year, also in Tassie. But
Yeah. So North,
Richmond's
Saints,
in
Gold
there.
Coast, Richmond, the next 4 are very nice.
So you probably
and then Dogs
say,
last.
yeah, exactly. So next 4 pretty good. So
I think it's a good play.
Yeah, between him and Rowan, what would you go with?
Oh,
Because that's probably my decision. So help me out.
So 2 thoughts here. Does
I'm not
the
sure.
cover being like the DPP, does that matter?
Does that benefit? I think no. With English in my forward line, it doesn't really.
Because you could probably
already
someone else to.
And then someone we probably haven't talked about yet is Teagle. Apparently, might be back soon and might come straight in. I mean, we're not sure, but he might be covered as well.
Maybe
so
forget the value of cover for a sec.
Yeah,
like
cover
who's
side,
going to average?
It's not relevant.
Who's going to average more? It's worth noting. I did hear during the week that Dylan Moore said that he can play mid or forward. But yeah, as JD said, like the floor is still pretty good when he's playing mostly half forward. So,
especially with a softer draw, like it shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, he's played the Crows and Eagles the past 2, and the game against the Dogs, who plays again, he scored a 112 with I think low 20 CBAs or something like that, probably even less. Kicked a few goals there though, so but yeah, he tackles a lot. Good kick to handball ratio, like really good. He looks like he can do 105, 110. Honestly, if the 60% CBAs keep up, and you'd think that. Like he's been at his best the past 2 weeks, probably, or I'd argue, but yeah, you think he maintains the mid time, just not 100% sure. So, but yeah, again, floor's okay. So I think he can do 105 to 110. Whereas Rowan's ceiling's higher than that.
Yeah, but floors might be lower too. And then
there's injury risk with him as well. So
yeah,
I think if you're worried about the injury risk, go Moore. If you're not worried about the injury risk, go Rowan. That's where I'll leave it.
Yeah.
I think there's a bit more comfort in Dylan Moore because of the durability there. So, yeah.
I would have said upside sits with Marshall, although just looking at his next 3 opponents, West Coast and Hawks aren't particularly hard, but interesting is that in his last 3 against West Coast, so going back to 2019, hasn't tunned. Going back to 2020 with Hawks, he tunned in 2020, but the next 2 games he hasn't. And then against Geelong, he hasn't tunned in the last 3 against them. So, like, just weird. Because none of those matchups
I guess
particularly hard for
they're different rucks this year, though. Like, all of them.
It probably depends on whether
and rider games,
games. Yeah. But we've seen this last year. With no rider, Marshall just scores so much better. So, I'd probably go there.
And West Coast might still have, no Nick Nat. So, big BJ as an opponent, which should be pretty good for Rowan. And then probably the big forward we're only going through ones that people are trading in, and a lot of forwards, obviously, we're not going to talk about that we already own. You know, if you don't have Libba, obviously, I'd love to get him, but he's bloody pushing over 600K now, so not really an option. But Todd Goldstein, and I can't afford it because Darcy Cameron's dropped too much money, and Goldie played another ripper on the weekend. So I think his 5-round average is well up there with the best.
106.85 round for Goldie.
Yeah, I think there was a 50 in there, right? Which
there was a 55 and
random,
16.
But yeah.
But otherwise, everything else was being tons, including like 2 120s and 135.
Yeah, and then we know Cherry's out for the year, so that's his role. Soaked up for the rest of the year, so yeah, he would probably be my number 1 of these 3. I would say if you can afford. But for my instance, I can't. So I guess, give you guys some thoughts on Goldstein, and then I guess we'll say, would you put him ahead of Rowan and Moore, or what would order these at the end? So, JD, what do you got? Thoughts on Goldstein, and then
talked about your boy Heaney in this mix.
We've done enough talking about Heaney for the year.
Heaney probably 95.
I know you're loving it, but yeah, I think these are ahead of him.
So I would probably go maybe Goldstein, Rowan, Moore. But I like all of these options. I couldn't blame anyone for picking any of them. There's no one that I dislike on this list.
Yep. For a 5-week stretch. If you had to split them, George?
I think there's nothing in it. With Goldie, so what was his 5 round? Like 106? It's probably the same because CCJ has taken over Cherries, like pretty much the same CBAs.
Yeah.
So yeah, Goldstein probably 105, Moore probably around the same. Rowan's highest ceilings. I'd actually have Rowan 1, but the worst durability.
Okay.
Goldstein's fixture's nice as well. Like they've got Hawks, Essendon, Swans, Adelaide, Gold Coast. So it's just lots of nice matchups for Goldie there. And he's been scoring better the last 2 weeks with the coach change. So
yeah, true. All right, so that's a few of the full. I mean, there's a couple. I guess we can touch on. You wanted to touch on Heaney, but maybe we'll touch on Taranto quickly. I know a couple of people have gone for him because he was quite a cheap option.
just
we sort of spoke about it at this. Yeah,
it didn't look great on the weekend. I thought 54% CBAs, which was actually his most for the last 4 weeks. But it did seem that he was out of the midfield rotation early, and it was more of a result of Kelly going down that he got that extra time in. So Hopper was straight into the midfield to start the game and then couldn't run it out. He looked terrible, Hopper. So I think Taranto is probably going to be okay next week with no Kelly, but then I'm a little bit worried once everyone's back what his split looks like, because he has shown to be a capable forward, and I don't think they're going to put Cogs back there. It was death for him, so a little bit worried. It was also interesting byproduct as well. It's like Tom Green only had 27% CBAs, which was his lowest for the year.
Ooh, yeah.
Maybe he's guessed or something. I don't know. I think with I guess when we speak about Heaney and Taranto, I think most people at this point in the year were planning for them to be like year M7, year M9, F7 sort of thing. But I think Rowan's probably better now if you can get Rowan to F7. And then you can cover him in the ruck, and then you use one of your DPP mids to cover in the midfield. So it kind of acts as the same thing. So I think Rowan's ahead of those two. But yeah, Heaney has a nice fixture, and I'm half thinking about trading him in as a cover player, but loop him with Cripps or something. But yeah, thought I'd touch on that.
And then some trade-ins for the midfield. There's a few that, again, we probably won't go over the highly owned guys, but sort of the affordable. Well, one of them actually isn't too affordable as he was when a lot of us got him in, and that's Zach Merritt, who's now over 600k. And George will hate us talking about him, but I guess we have to. He's just been in really good form, and it sort of coincides, I guess, with Essendon sort of turned in their form. He's probably not one of those players that it's probably harsh on him, but always performs when the team's going poorly. But like when they're going well, he is definitely one of the best players for it, and he just benefits from that. Like the stuff he does in a good team is really good, and not many can do. Like he's kicking inside 50. That sort of thing. So, I mean, I didn't catch the game, JD, but I'm sure he was doing a lot of that as well, like he has been. How did he look?
Zach Merritt?
Yep.
He looked like his old nickname of top 5 mid. So, yeah, he was very good again. The last 3 weeks, he's probably been our best player. Just very, very good, both like at stoppages, but then also linking up through the ground, runs hard both ways. So he does get a lot of cheap uncontested stuff, which is partly by design because they want him kicking just with his good use. But then also his work rate's been really good. Defensive pressure's been good. So been very well rounded. I think he led us for score involved in something like 14 for the game as well. And actually he's put a little bit of egg on my face because a few weeks ago, my bold call was that no one from Essendon, North or West Coast would be top of their line for the run home. And Merritt definitely is. He's currently, I think, like the third best mid on form behind Oliver, who's missed a week, and Laird. There's a couple of others we'll talk about as well. Actually, we've already mentioned Goldie, who looks like he could ruin it, and there's 2 other pods that we'll talk about later. But yeah, Zach Merritt has been very, very good. And if Essendon continues to be competitive, I don't see why he would slow down. Maybe not a 125 average from here to the end, but between 125 and 115 seems very reasonable.
Just on Merritt, the reason why I put him on as a topic is his fixture is Collingwood, North, free WS as we call them because they're free, GWS, Port and Richmond. So none of these midfields are Port's okay, but like Collingwood give up, like they all give up points, everyone here.
Yep.
So I think he's going to just storm home and it's going to be pain for people that don't own. So I think it's like, would you take a Merritt over Steele or Mills right now?
I guess we have to put the cash aside because he is hard to trade in now. He's 615k. So, when you put that fixture in front of me, I think it makes it hard for me to say to say no, because he's had the history. He's got the history of 115. I know we want to say the other two guys have probably done it more this year and more recently, but
Merritt was like 8th or 9th best mid last year.
But that's because of how deep the midfield is. Yeah. But
Yeah,
you're right. These guys are showing 120.
Done it recently, like Merritt's shown it recently.
Oh, sorry. I wasn't knocking him. I meant more recently. I don't know. Like Mills just had a 120.
More recently, you talking down to an Essendon player? You're gonna come over there. Gonna get you.
Remind me to never bring up Essendon players again.
No, usually I'm pretty level-headed, but I mean, come on, put some respect on Merritt's name. He's been one of the stalwarts of fantasy and Supercoach formats for years. And now what? He has a slow start to the year with a bit of syndesmosis, and now he's dead to us. You just upset he's overtaken Walsh and Kelly and all these other hacks.
George is for sure.
For sure.
I might stick the captaincy on him, JD, one of these weeks.
So I was just going to say,
God. Next topic.
So just quickly, like Mills' fixture run home is really nice as well. Swan's fixture is very good. So I think they both have probably reasonably easy fixtures. And so I could see Mills being right up there as well. For me, it's really hard to ever go past Jack Steele. I just think he's so safe. It doesn't matter whether St Kilda's going good or bad. He's going to perform well. And I'm not sure I could say that for Merritt. So I don't know, like fixture-wise, I could see people going Merritt. I could see them going Mills. But then it's really hard to not say Steele.
Yep.
Agree.
Yeah. And he's still the most affordable of the three as well. So,
yeah, I mean, if you're still going to have trades left over after it, then based on just having 50K that could get you to Stewart when he returns, I'd have Steele ahead of the other two.
Yep, don't do what I'm doing and leave myself $100 last week. Probably I'm going to leave myself $1,000 this week. It just makes your choices for a future trade just narrows them down. So, yep, that's a good point. And then we got anything else you guys want to talk about of players to trade in or like topical players before we move on to the rookies?
Next.
I'm taking that as a no. So the rookies, George will love talking about one of these kids. Jai Cully, I'll start with, mate. What did you see from him on the weekend? I think you were kicking yourself. You didn't go Carmichael before, but then he comes in and does what he did for you, covering Clarion. Yeah, do you think it persists for the rest of the year? Probably has to, right, for the position they're in, but.
Yeah, well, just to go over these rookies, we got 4 here. So Carmichael, Cully, Johnson, Cumberland. Cully and Carmichael were getting CBAs. So they like Carmichael's mature age. I think Cully's like 19, but he's like mature body. So out of those two, so I went Jai Cully a few weeks ago, and lo and behold, it's turned out to work magnificently because I had to cover 2 players this week in Big O and Clary.
Oliver. Yep.
So yeah, I needed Cully's 90 was much appreciated this week. He looked good. I don't know what happened in the fourth quarter. They took him off for felt like 15, 20 minutes. But yeah, he's a big-bodied mid. He tackles a lot. Didn't win a lot of the ball, but all of his ball that he won was contested, and he got involved a bit. Like he's a few handballs, a few kicks here and there. Mostly like at the stoppage, like at the source. That's where his points came from. Carmichael, similar, got a bit more of the ball. Butchered it like I've never seen before. At one point, he nearly like missed his boot, and his kicking efficiency at 3/4 time, I want to say it was about 6%, and I think he had 24 kicks, 0 handballs, something like that.
Yep.
So going forward, I think Cully's more chance to hold his spot just because West Coast got to play youth, whereas Collingwood need a win to go. He comes back. 1 or 2 bad games from Carmichael. Maybe he's dropped, but I think they like him, and I think they'll keep playing him. So out of these two, I think Carmichael's still got a bit more upside. I'm not too sure what happened with Cully's injury, so I'd probably rank Carmichael then Cully. But I would be very happy going either of these. These are 2 gifts, I think. So do you have any thoughts, JD?
I'd probably have Cully over Carmichael, but I think they're both good. Carmichael's job security worries me, where I think Cully does survive from here. Cumberland is worth a shout, though. So he's played the 2 games and he's kicked 5 goals over the 2 weeks. He's had something like, I want to say at least 10 scoring shots, maybe 12, which has just been phenomenal. So if you think about Maurice Rowley Jr., Judson Clark, some of these other small forward options that have been run through, he's looked far and away better in those 2 games than any of them have looked in any of the individual games. So I think his job security looks really good, but he's priced slightly higher than Carmichael and Cully, and his role's obviously worse as a smaller forward as well. He's just managed to score really well on it. So yeah, like do not dismiss him as an option either.
Yep, and I think we probably write Ash Johnson off here of the rest of them, just because again has playing that he's good, but as a Supercoach option, I think the role's definitely the worst, and who knows if he keeps his spot. But you're right, he did look good. Did some lively things, but I guess we get into the Q&A.
That's right.
Got if you too much more to talk about.
If you're not a member of the Discord, now's the chance for the plug. So as you know, we ask the Discord for questions for the podcast, and they do get priority. So I've tried to group up some of the big themes as well as then bring out some of the specific trade questions. We'll start with the themes here. So there's a lot of disciples of the Jordan Petito School of Trading. They are now asking, can we go down to 0 trades? Is it too early to be hitting 0 trades? So we've got
I don't care, bro. Get me out of Crips.
So that wasn't...
When I say I don't care, that means it's a bad trade. Put it that way.
So there's 5 weeks to go. In all likelihood, we'll have at least 1, maybe 2 injuries, probably 3 between now and the end.
Look, no matter how you spin it, it's a stupid idea to go to 0 with 5 weeks to go, because as soon as one player goes down long term, minimum 50 points a week, you would think, unless you have like a sub-primo cover or something like that. But the problem is that if your goal is to, like, if you're top 15, top 20, and you don't think you can get top 10, and you have like 2 trades left, and you feel like your only chance is to use those 2 trades to get up, I don't see a problem with using them, because it's like, that's you have to do something. And I feel like for me to get into the top 1K, I have to do something. So you play for upside, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. If I go Steel to Crips, I think that's 30, 40 points a week. And that's 200 points, which is basically equivalent of fielding like Hobbs over a forward, probably. Or maybe not like a Bond or something, but so is it smart to go down to 0? I think the odds are not in your favor, but if you need to do something to reach your goal, then I don't mind it. And you'd want decent. I got like 3 or 4 rookies covering, so which kind of helps. But I'm still actually not sure I'll do it. But yeah, going down to 0, put it this way, the odds are not in your favor.
So just quickly, I would say by doing nothing, I actually am doing something. So I'm betting on there being injuries and my 2 trades then making up lots of points because I can replace a primo that others can't. So I think you can still make up spots by not trading, but you are praying for carnage. Whereas someone that is actively using those trades and going down to 0 is in the opposite camp. You're praying for no carnage. So it just depends on which one of those bets you think is going to make you more places up more of the time. So the guy that's in first, for example, in the moment, Abdul, I believe his name is, has 0 trades, right? So if you're in second place, then holding on to trades might be the better strategy than trying to trade into the same team as him. Just especially because sidewaysing premiums can backfire. So yeah, and I personally think it's too early to go to 0 as much as I'd like to get in Steel for Crips or whatever it is. But Enno, your thoughts?
It's a no from me. It's going to blow up in your face 100%. You have an injury in a couple of weeks to go and fielding. I mean, you do have cover that I guess is the better part about it. Whereas like for my team, I've really only got Paul Curtis on the bench. So you have got to assess your team of 30, and George is probably in a better position to go to 0 than most with the cover he's got. But I still wouldn't go there. I still think the points you can get from sidewaysing a primo that's injured is better than the cover for a couple of rounds. But
okay,
hey, each to your own. Just know and what's going to happen, and if it happens, and how your reaction is going to be, and how pissed off you're
okay. Yeah. I already had a comment on YouTube like, "Don't cry if flood goes your way," something like that.
Well,
so
simple.
What round are you willing to go to 0 yet?
I think two left, like just before the there's 2 games to play. So
Okay.
maybe 3, but probably 2 for me. Because obviously you want to see if you get injuries that week, and then obviously in the last round you don't really know if someone gets injured during those games. It obviously doesn't matter, the season's over. So probably 2. JD, what do you reckon?
Yeah, probably around then, 3 or 2 weeks. Like I'm probably at the point as well where I'll be making cash league finals, so I might use it for that and abandon overall. We'll see.
Depends what your priorities are. Again, yep. Everyone's different.
I mean, whether I finish like, I don't know,
4 or 5K,
4K or
what's the difference?
4.1K, whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's still a trash year by
I
my
agree.
standards, but winning the cash might ease the pain a little bit.
Exactly.
All right. So second question, and actually there's 2 that tie in together. So one person was asking, who's your ultimate lowish owned DPP cover for the rest of season? Don't worry about price. Just pick a low ownership pod for cover. And then the second question here was asking about some of the cheaper alternative guys that are on a hot streak at the moment and whether you would advocate for trading them in for the rest of the season. So let's start with those players that are on the hot streak, and then let's see if it informs who are the lowest owned DPP covers that we could look at. So firstly, we've already talked about Dylan Moore. I'm just looking for a yes or no. Are you okay with people trading him in?
Yeah.
I have to say yes, because I think I am. So, yep.
So, yep, 3 yeses on Dilmore. Marshall?
Yep.
Yes. LDU, who is on form. He's a top 8 mid over the last 5 weeks. And this was one of the ones that's going to call out.
600K, bro.
He is 600K.
Expensive now. Yeah.
If people are doing luxury stuff and they can get in an LDU for 600K. So he's a 121 average over the last 5. He's got, I think, McRae, Petrarca, Merritt, Laird, and Oliver ahead of him for midfielders over the last 5. So he's 6th at the moment for mids. So yes or no?
And North runs. I mean, if you can afford it, and there's no. I guess there's probably 8 mids better than him, but yeah, I'll say yeah. Why not? Their run's pretty good, North, but
it's a no from me. I think there's better alternatives.
I'll probably go no as well, as much as I would like to say yes.
One of my mates went him, and he was pretty happy.
All right. One that we've been hot on for a little bit. He's a little bit of a my guy. There's a few people in Discord that'll claim him as well, but Chad Warner, he's 5-round average is just 110, but his 3-round average is 137. And as we kind of mentioned, he's taking over some of the CBAs in that Swans midfield. Yes or no to bringing in Chuck Warner mid only?
I mean, if he's your only option, like we were talking about with Poley, with Jolly going down, I think he's definitely the best of the sort of sub 550s. So in that regard, yes, but obviously not trading him in ahead of Steele and guys like that. So,
yep,
if he's all you can afford and below, then yes, but otherwise, no.
All right, I'll agree with Eno.
I think it's fine at the price. And the Chad Warner dude in Discord has been like every week, like, you guys, when are you going to mention Chad Warner on the pod? So you get your wish. There you go.
Did we do it twice in one pod? Wow.
Look, George, I think, isn't there a kid that's standing every player in the league in our Discord? So someone's started a cult for every player that exists, but yeah.
The Hate League cult is dead, unfortunately. But
and then, unfortunately, he isn't the number 1 defender on 5-round average. That title goes to Nick Dacos. But the number 2 defender on 5-round average is one Mason Redmond, who's gone 121 over the last 5, coming off a 152 on the weekend. Thoughts on Redmond as a pod trade-in for defense?
Again, if you can afford it, yeah, but he's looked good. He's looked really good. I think I would still... Because I would
Stewart's
guess if you
next week.
Another good point. If you can hold off a Stewart, I guess that's the play. But that's a week away. So if you wanted to go this week, I'd probably guess that you don't have Dacos either. So I'd probably have Dacos ahead of Redmond if you were to bring someone in at that sort of price this week. But I've been impressed by Redmond. I think he's a really good player. And I guess he's got the role. But yeah, I guess it continues, right? He's been working. He's been playing really well. So I've got no issues
All
with
right.
him.
Excellent. Okay, so ultimate lowish owned DPB cover for rest of season, no price consideration.
Libba,
Look, no
probably.
price. Yeah, I was going to say, like, no price makes it a bit.
So I believe the same person actually asked, would you bring in Libba or Sinclair this week?
Sinclair looks like he might cop 2 tags, and he's probably going to score 140 in between those games anyway, the way he's going.
No salt there, George.
No salt in
we
the
all have
tears
it.
here, mate.
Everyone you don't own that's going well. There's salt, but yeah, no, good point, George. Yeah.
I think
I'd
like
probably say Libba.
that's just let's say Libba too.
It's
And
a
again
weird
with
request,
Trevor's moved to halfback, so I think I don't know, they've kept that there for 2 weeks, so maybe
I
he stays there.
assume maybe he's got Himmelberg Jetty where he can sort of swing and then decide either way. That's probably my guess.
Could be, yeah, could be.
Yeah, because otherwise
it would make sense.
Yeah, I think Libba. Yep. Just because of those tags. One tag game and it sort of ruins the total points.
I think so.
Yep.
I would have had Sinclair ahead until taggers have cropped up for halfbacks in the second half of the year.
Yep.
All right. So we've now got 5 names that I think we'd all be happy trading out, but I want you guys to order them from who you most prefer to trade out to least. So the names are Butters, Cripps, Short, Crisp, and Green. So I think ideally, in a perfect world where we had money in trades, we would move all of these on. But if you had to rank them from highest priority to trade out to least.
Okay.
Can we just speak about Cripps for one moment, please? Because a lot of people getting rid of him. I want to get rid of him.
Jack, back this week.
Jack, no. Who wants to talk about? Patrick Cripps.
Yes, Cripps.
Okay, so he got tagged by Blitz halves. Blitz halves was like shoving him at stoppages nonstop. It was on, I think it was on first crack or something. And Pitney's supposed to come back this week, so that might give him a bit of relief in the ruck. So he scored the 80. He hasn't really just been getting like 90s and high 80s the past few weeks. As much as I want to get rid of him, and I still want to, there's a chance we might see an uptick this week with Pitney back.
Yep.
And he won't get tagged. So, yeah, just thought I'd add that.
Okay.
But yeah, moving on to the to interrupt there, but yeah, the 5 players.
Yep.
First one, Tom Green got to go.
Yeah.
CBAs are gone.
Thanks, Diamond.
Tom Green got to go. The next one is Butters.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know. Butters, you don't know. You're going to get like a 60 or 100 or like a 110, 120.
I didn't see the game. What did he look like?
He actually ended up with a 74, which I thought he was going to finish on something much lower than that. But he hasn't tonned since round 11 against Essendon.
Oh, 15 CBAs. 15%. Okay, say Butters. So Tom Green,
Butters. Yeah.
Butters, and then Crisp, the third. No. Crisp I'd hold. I'd go Green, get rid of Green, then get rid of Butters, then get rid of Short, then get rid of Cripps, then get rid of Crisp.
Yeah. I think the first 2 are easy, Butters and Green. Then I'd probably have Cripps as the next one. I think because just the difference in scoring in the mids is probably bigger. Like with him going 80 and other mids possible to go 120 plus, whereas sort of your Short and Crisp should probably go around 90 at like absolute worst. And then the difference to the top guys isn't as much. So, I mean, whatever order you have Short and Crisp in, I'd probably maybe have Shorty still as a more priority trade out than Crisp because, look, as much as I back Crisp, surely he has to turn around at some point. I mean, the role's probably more the worrying part that he's sort of been getting thrown around, sort of like what Dacos was. But
yeah. So Short had his lowest CBA since he got moved into the midfield with just 15%, and he was like starting forward something like 40% of the time. So this is a bad role.
Yep. Yeah, but he's sort of been doing most of that for a while. He pushes up to the stoppage and he still gets 25 25
They feed him at half forward.
They feed him, but it's, of course, not what you want. It's not the optimal.
That was against a North team that they lost to. So
yeah, of course.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not looking
Yeah.
good.
No,
Which,
no, it's not.
changed my
But Crisp
mind,
honestly
actually.
isn't either. He's been playing some forward too himself.
Okay.
So look, you can split them whatever way, but I probably would have Cripps still as a trade out just because of the, like I said, the point difference it might get you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sense.
I agree. Actually, yeah.
Yep, I would agree. So Green, Butters, Cripps, and then probably Short over Crisp. But you could have it Crisp
I
over
guess
Short.
that's the main call people are making, right? They're probably going, do I do Cripps or do I do a Shorty Crisp? So, like, I know if you've got Green and Butters, just bloody get rid of them. But that's probably the main decision people are making, I would say.
All right. Specific trade questions. We'll just rapid fire these. So just yes, no's. So Darcy Cameron still more would have one trade left.
Yep.
Upgrade to Bont, but go to 0 trades.
Agree.
I say no because 0 trades with 5 rounds is
If you got
tough.
cover.
So no. Yeah.
Yep. So I would say no. And I think we're all going to have the same answers to the last question. So okay to go to 0 trades to get rid of Cripps. So no, I don't think it is. I'm holding Cripps, holding 2 trades.
I don't mind.
All right.
It hasn't worked, JD. We haven't done well enough.
Yeah, no. We haven't succeeded. Baker to Rowan, Marshall, or more, and go to 2 trades. But Baker is currently cover.
Well,
If you
Moore's
have
not
an
really
out
great.
this week,
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I would say no.
I think I'd be cool with going Baker to Rowan.
Yes,
and
I
just
wouldn't do
because then
more.
you put Rowan on field and then you move whoever your worst F6 is to bench. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah,
I'm going to say yes because you're not going to be able to do it next week probably with money.
Good point.
The only
Baker's
other thing
going
that's
backwards.
other thing that's weird with that one is like usually rather than like getting your bench cover better, there's usually a better on-field trade like getting rid of a Cripps or getting Stewart or something next week. So that's the only thing I'd consider. All right, so trade in Cogs or Baslenka with 2 trades and low cash left, or get Marshall with 100k left to use on other upgrades like Short to Stewart.
I think go for Rowan. Yeah. Yep.
Great.
100k will be handy.
McDonald to Cully and Cripps to Bont, Mills, or Walsh.
Trades left would have been nice to know, but
it would have been.
Yeah.
Let's assume that it's 2.
Like 2 will be left after the
2 will be
trades are done?
left. Yeah,
I'd do it. Yep.
Yeah, to Marcus.
Yep. Well, it's in the midfield, but
midfield,
probably Bont's probably better informed
still
than
Marcus.
Mills. But it wouldn't be Walsh though; it'd be Bont or Mills. So I think we've already answered this a little bit. But trade or hold Jelly have 2 trades left, but with cover.
I think it'd be good to know what the cover was again, but I think with the cover, if it's good enough, I'd hold for 1 week. Keep those 2. Yep.
1 week's always been a hold.
Yeah. If it's like a Taranto or a Heaney or someone like that, then I'd say
totally
hold.
Yep.
If it's a rookie, then I don't know, maybe look at getting better cover or think about moving him on. If you can move him on to something like a Steele, I'd probably do that.
Yeah, the Steele in 1, I'd do that actually, just because Steele's so good.
Yep, exactly. It's an upgrade for the run home as well as better score for this week. All right, perfect. Thanks, boys. That is the questions from the Discord for the week.
Cool. And I guess we'll quickly wrap up like we always do with captains, what our early thoughts are on a Monday. Of course, that will always change possibly towards the end of the week. I put the VC on Sinclair, something I probably thought I'd never do, but that got me a decent enough score. Of course, Bont would have been the lovely choice, but early thoughts, boys. I think for me, VC's got to be on Brayshaw. In my opinion, I just think we're just a very easy team to score points on in the mids. And Andy, I think, went, 180, 190 last year against us as well. So that's the VC. Probably, hopefully take that. Anything over 120, I'll probably take these days. Don't want to risk it too much. But backup might be Steele against West Coast. I think that looks like a good one, even though it's the last game of the round. You're always a bit nervous, but yeah, Brayshaw onto Steele, I think I've got. What about you, George?
I don't know. Might just go Laird, VC into Neil and Oliver. I'm only interested in using those 3, to be honest.
Yeah.
Laird into Clary.
I see. I have a real hard time going Clary week back with the hand thing.
Week back.
That's true.
Dogs as well.
Yeah. So I've currently got. I think
can't
captains
do it,
this
but-
week is really hard. So
Yeah.
I actually really like Enno's. For those that have Brayshaw, I really like Brayshaw as a VC this week.
C's the harder part, isn't it?
I think you could also, like, if you got Goldie, you could even entertain VCing him, depending on what your other options are against the Hawks. But yeah, Laird VC just seems like the obvious one for me, just in form. And I've probably got a low threshold this week. Like, I think anything 120 plus I'll take, maybe even as low as a 115. And then I currently have Merritt C against Collingwood. Just don't think he'll get tagged. Should get enough points around the ground to kind of, get a reasonable score. Has good history against them. So 123, 120, 116 last three. So yeah, if 120 is about my benchmark, he seems as safe a target as any for that.
I'll take a 115, 110 this week, honestly.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't have Steele because I'd probably go Steele over Merritt as a captain option. And I don't have Brayshaw because Brayshaw into Laird I would look at as well.
Okay. Yep.
I do like Mills if you have Mills. VC on Mills if you have him against the Crows.
But yeah. It's the only problem is it's like same time as Laird. So which one do you
I think Mills got a nicer matchup there.
Do you go for upside as well with the VC, I guess?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think the captain is harder, the later captain in the later parts of the round if your VC fails. But as always, hopefully we don't have to think about that and we can just lock in a nice score. So I think that wraps it up, boys. Nothing else you want to bring up before we jump off?
Not really. Maybe we'll do a trades video this week.
Yep. Or maybe comment some ideas for sort of podcasts. We're actually going to do, I don't know if we even should release this, but we're going to do some podcasts into the finals, and it's obviously not going to be too Supercoach related, but we're going to maybe do some quizzes, some rankings, maybe sort of a season review for Supercoach, give out some fake awards that we make up for, best rookie, best player, stuff like that. So yeah, maybe drop any ideas you have for us to do through the finals. We might probably incorporate something from the Discord, get people involved. So yeah, maybe comment below what you think we should do. But other than that, thanks for listening to another podcast. We'll just tweet our trades as usual or what we're doing each week from now. We won't be doing those videos anymore. So otherwise, we'll see you guys next week on the podcast.